Alright, welcome back to another Divinity Original Sin Enhanced Edition build guide. So we're going to be going over two more builds today. First one being your kind of standard Ranger, Archer, crossbowmen build, and the other one being a Rogue build. Now, if you know much about this game, Rogues are typically considered not very good. That's because they are not very good. But that does not mean that they are not fun. I still like playing with the rogues because they're really fun to play with. In the original, they were really overpowered, and that's why in the enhanced A edition they got nerfed really hardcore. And so now they're at the point where they're really just not all that great. If you like that kind of play style, I would say try a dual wielding fighter. But the rogue itself, really just not all that great. But I still think it's quite fun. So if you just want to play a round of it, go for it. I wouldn't do it on a high difficulty, maybe one of the lower two. But there you go. So anywho, the first one that we're going to go for is, let's just go ahead and do the rogue first. So we'll go to, starting off with the rogue, of course, because that's going to give us our 2 daggers, 2 kind of start, which is kind of what we're after here. So I'll go to customize. Actually, I want to list my rogue. Fun rogue, because rogues should be fun. Alright, so we'll change it to a redhead. This looks like us. Alright, and then we'll customize. So I'm actually going to leave it as kind of as it starts here. Dexterity +8, that's great. Speed, you may change one of those into perception. I'll leave it all in like speed. Basically, the 3 things that you want are a whole lot of dex, and then a whole lot of speed, and perception as kind of your third one there. That's what's going to cause you to do the most damage. Con, it's going to make you die a little bit less fast. In intelligence, you're never going to use strength. You don't need that either. So I'm going to take off the nasty deeds. Sneaking, crazy overpowered in the original. In the enhanced, it's worthless pretty much. Same with lockpicking and pickpocketing. So don't even bother with those ones. So we're going to go all the way up to weapons. I'm going to leave dual wielding as a +2 there, because that is really good. If you're going to be dual wielding, you really want that as high as possible, as fast as possible, because when it's only 1 point in it, you're still taking a lot of penalty. Really, what putting those points in dual wielding does is makes it go from being a kind of a negative thing to dual wield to being a very positive thing to be dual wielding. And of course, we're going to take one into Scoundrel. We're also going to take one into Man at Arms, which seems a little bit strange, but I'll explain that one here in a second. As far as talents go, Gorilla, that used to be great, now it's terrible. I'm going to take Backstabber. It's not necessarily the best, but it's really thematic, and that's what kind of makes rogues a lot more fun. So we're going to go with Backstabber. And then if you have a control person who's going to be doing a lot of slows or like cripples or knockdowns, you can take Bully. That's a great one too. One that I would also suggest is probably Stench. Now, Stench is going to make you a little bit less prone to being targeted when you're in the kind of the thick of it. The melee people you are fighting are going to be more likely to stay on your kind of tanky person versus on your rogue, and you do not want them on your rogue because you're not going to be all that tanky. Alright, so ability-wise here, I'm going to go ahead and lose a precise incision, and I'm going to go ahead and pick up from the Man at Arms tree, I'm going to pick up melee power stance. Now, I'm going to keep fast track, and I'm going to keep walk in shadows. Now, walk in shadows, it's kind of good in combat, or like if you're kind of going to be a target, you can use that to get kind of where you need to go. Does cost some action points. It's also very good out of combat to just basically steal everything. You want at least one person in your 4-man party to have walk in shadows so that you can do all these quests a lot easier. You can also make an absurd amount of money. If you want to play a little bit more of a role playing as a good guy type, type thing, I get it and don't go and take things, but overall pretty good one even with a combat. Then you have, so if you don't want to take it though, your options are lacerate and precise in incision. They're both decent, but both do about the same thing. One's going to weaken them, one's going to cause them to bleed. I would say precise incision is good a lot later on, because you're going to have people that are going to be lasting longer, and bleed is a little bit good now because you can kind of cause more damage. Having someone be weakened is nice, but only if they're going to be alive long enough for it to actually matter. So there you go. But I'm going to go ahead and keep walking in shadows here. So there's my kind of standard build there. You could change some things out. Maybe you want to pick up Geomancer instead of melee power stance. I like melee power stance because it does affect your daggers and stuff. So it causes you to do 20% more damage, and you can move faster. Now those are two things that rogues need a lot of. They need to move a lot to get behind people to do the damage, and then they can do more damage. It does lower your chance to hit, but typically you're going to have a pretty high chance to hit anyway because you're typically going to be flanking them. So that's my kind of recommendation there. We're going to go ahead and go for that as our kind of standard rogue build that we're going to go ahead and try out here. Alright, so then let's take a look at the other one. Now we can go for an archer. So an archer typically going to be looking at two of them. Either the ranger, which is going to mean you start out with a bow, or if you prefer a crossbow, the wayfarer. Now their only real difference is one gets a crossbow, one gets a bow when they start. So essentially, a bow is going to cost you 4 action points per turn to shoot. A crossbow will cost you 5. Now, if you're going to be using specialty ammo, those will always cost 4, even if you are using a crossbow. So keep that in mind. A crossbow will do a little bit more damage, and it'll crit more. And its crits do a whole lot of damage. But again, it does cost 5 action points as opposed to 4, which doesn't make a huge difference unless you get to the point where you're wasting a bunch of action points every turn because your basic action costs too much to even use it. And that can be remedied by using specialty things like ricochet, those special shots, or special ammos. That's more kind of a personal preference thing. Do you want big numbers and lots of crits, or do you want to attack more often? Personally, if you don't care, I think the bow is a little bit better. You're going to find a lot more bows in the game. And then also it's a lot more versatile for when you're attacking lots of enemies versus one big enemy. So that'll work fine both. Whereas a crossbow, you're going to be blowing 5 action points to kill one little guy when you could have spent it over 2 to kind of affect more. So that's just kind of the general idea of what you want to do, which is kind of better for what. So, anywho, personal preference. Let's take a look here. All right, so looking good there. Then customize, leave point and bow, and expert marksman. Take everything out of crafting, and then over here. So, again, the setup here is already pretty good. You want dex, you want speed, you want perception. Perception is a little bit more important on a ranger versus a rogue because it's going to help you with your accuracy. You always want kind of 8 dex or 8 of your main attribute for any character because then you're going to be able to always use your A abilities and have them always work and not just fail. Like, oh, there's a 80% chance of doing it. And then during combat, it always feels like there's a 40% chance of it actually happening. That's just how RNG works, I guess. So, all right. For our other three points here, again, don't put it into anything else. Don't try and do bow and crossbow. You're going to be wasting a lot of points there, which you could use in more useful places. Now, marksman, pretty obvious. If you're in any kind of ranger, bow, crossbow, always pick expert marksman. That's great things there. Scoundrel actually pairs very well with it because Scoundrel requires Dex. Scoundrel is great on almost anybody, but the downside of it is it forces you to get at least 8 Dex for those basic skills to be useful. Now, even if you just leave 1 point in Scoundrel ever, you got the most important things that you need. That's the haste and the walk in shadows. Yeah. Alternative there is, hey, maybe I want to pick up like some Geomancer to get a summon and some like buffs there, which is fine too, because in Geomancer, what you can actually do is pick up Bless, which is going to help your accuracy. But again, if you don't put any points into Intelligence, you're only going to have a 70% chance of that happening. And during combat, that could be theoretically 3 action points just completely wasted on you. So if you want to go that route and at least invest some points into Intelligence just to kind of guarantee that Bless goes out. Now that is a good thing because you can pair that Bless with your ranged power stance to kind of counteract it and just up your damage in general by 20% period, which is just always good. So there's that kind of option there. But again, if you want to do that, I would say do it later. Don't try and start out with that. So what we're going to do is do Marksman and Scoundrel. Then we have 2 points left. I'm going to throw that into Bow just to up our damage by another 10%. So talent-wise, Arrow Recovery, it's not great, and it's not terrible, but early in the game it's worthless because you're going to be using so few specialty arrows that don't even bother trying to take it from the start. Just pick it up later. Bully, gotta have Bully. If you're doing any kind of physical damage, Bully is always good. But just make sure that you have someone on your team who's going to be doing a lot of knockdowns, slows, and like cripples. It's always good on a ranger because rangers can make or get those knockdown arrows, and you knock them down, and then you and everyone else is going to be doing a whole lot of damage there too. So again, arrow recovery is good, but later on, and only kind of pick it up once everything else you kind of need or want's kind of already been picked up. What do we actually want? So you could do Stench. Stench, just like with the Rogue, it's going to make everyone kind of attack you less, but hopefully you're not going to be being attacked much or in the kind of midst of things very often. The other one is Scientist. Now Scientist gives you blacksmithing and crafting for free versus picking them up here with your ability points. Now, why that would be good is because if you plan on being the kind of player who's going to be using a lot of those specialty arrows of different elements, like the fire arrows, the knockdown arrows, things of that nature, you want to be able to craft those yourself. So having those little points there can really kind of help you make those at least the main ones you would need right off the bat. Worst case, you put 1 more point in there just to help you make better ones. So I would say get that, but again, don't do it first off because in the first 3 levels you're not going to be building your own specialty arrows, so it's not really worth it yet. But levels 3 and 5 and stuff, think about getting arrow recovery and Scientist. So if you want Pet Pal, I would say maybe take it and get some quests with Pet Pal. If you're going with the Geomancer or kind of caster build, you can take Know-It-All to help you get that intelligence up higher. I'm going to go ahead and take Stench though. Now, keep in mind, both of these characters have Stench, so that's worthless unless I get a 3rd character or a 4th character there, which is going to be taking more hits for me. So, your personal thing there. Elemental Affinity, I just think is just, oh sorry, not Elemental Affinity, it's the arrow one. What's the arrow one? I don't know, whatever. So there's the arrow one, which helps you do elemental damage of the type you are shooting. That's pretty darn terrible. So never take that one either. Anywho, let's take a look at our abilities that we're going to take. Now, first aid, you can take it. I'll get it later though. Ranged power stance, definitely take that, and then ricochet. Then I'm going to take from scoundrel. I'm going to take fast track. I could take walk in shadows too. Ranged power stance is really good. May not need it first off. My dog is licking himself. So. Right. But your other options, treat poison is terrible. First aid, it's fine. So range power stance, you might as well take it. You only really want to use it if you have a very high chance of hitting them, or hopefully when they're knocked down, stunned, blinded, things like that, and you have that guaranteed 100% chance to hit. Then throw that on and just up that damage even more. Again, if you want to go with a bless, you throw on bless, you throw on that, you're going to be doing a lot of damage. All right. So there's our basic build. Let's go ahead and try these ones out then, shall we? All right. Again, I would not say as do lone wolf with these two ever. This is not really a good team combo of ranger and rogue. But if you throw in your third party member being a caster and like more tanky type fighter, I think that's a good combo to run with. So again, the two that you make are going to depend on what you want to on which NPCs you want to take. So if you kind of know which NPCs you want to take, try and make your other characters so they kind of fit in those counts well. And these ones can fit quite well into the NPCs as well. Again, the rogue is the rogue guy, and the archer is the archer girl. So there you go. Right. I do not have a distance pull here, but before I engage in combat, I'm going to go ahead and go melee power stance. Always start there with your rogue. And then we go walk in shadows, because I know I'm going to be getting into combat here. So now I'm going to walk up and start combat. Alright, so now the benefit is I'm already invisible, and I have that power stance up. Now, one thing you want to keep in mind is if you activate that power stance, it takes you out of stealth. So never, because what can happen is you can get into position with your rogue and go, all right. I'm here. I'm good. I don't have enough to attack. I'll just go into power stance for next turn, and then you'll hit it, and then you'll come out of stealth, and then everyone turns in a action. Right? So I'm gonna go ahead and go range power stance here, and then I'm gonna go ahead and ricochet. Ricochet is a guaranteed hit, so it's always a good one to be using. So typically, the nearer they are, they're gonna be easier for me to hit. I'm not going to back up at all. Actually, I'll go ahead and haste. And I'm going to back up just a little bit here. And then now, I want to get behind people to do as much damage as possible. So my attack is going to take me 5. Attack is going to take me 4. Okay, 1 to move. Yeah, 1 to move, and then 4 hits. So if I walk here, I can still hit him. So I can do that. And that's where that extra movement's very nice from the melee power stance. So now this is going to be overkill, but I just kind of want to show the damage. 18 and 3, and you're going to crit a lot from behind them. And then we're going to go ahead and use my. So I'm pretty low on my accuracy, but that's because I'm in that power stance, and I probably shouldn't have even gone in it because I don't have any lockdowns or stuns yet. But if I had a player who did that, that's going to be really beneficial for me. So as opposed to that, I'm just going to go to use my fire arrow. And I want to give my rogues a chance to do a bit more damage. So I'll run there. And then finish him. There we go. Alright, so rogues, I think they're a lot of fun. Like I was saying, they're not great, but there's a lot of fun, and I really enjoy them. So play them on lower levels just to kind of experience it. But if you're trying like a tactician level or stuff like that, I wouldn't recommend it. I'm not gonna say don't, but just I wouldn't recommend that. Right. I didn't use my fast track the last time, but I'll try and use it this time. Oh yeah, I should have done that as well. Alright. So, let's move you behind. Turn that power stance, and we will just go ahead and backstab him. And I missed both. Alright. Oops. And then we'll shoot. Ricochet. Fast track. Back up a little bit. So can I get behind you? There we go. And then you're missing a lot, lady. Missing a lot more than she has in the past. Oh well. Now, get lucky here. Alright. If I'm this low, I probably shouldn't have done my power stance, but oh well. You guys see all the kind of areas that I like with it. And again, if you have someone who helps you go and stun, that's what's going to really help out here with that backstab damage. Because you're going to have that guaranteed hit, not have to worry about the missing like I'm getting here. Move behind, and backstab. Alright, so again, you're not seeing the full potential here, and again, it's very reliant on others, but I think rogues can be a whole lot of fun. I wish they were a little bit better, but I think they are still viable. But there you go. Ranger build and your rogue build. So until then, this has been Dogmap, and I'll talk to you next time.